So this is CDR. For those who don't know, this is a place for everyone to gather together, listen to some banging tunes, listen to their works in progress, as well as learn insights from amazing producers such as Hi5Ghost himself. Today we're going to be going over a bit over his own production, as well as a bit of background, and then you can ask him questions in between. There'll be some mics available, which Sean will gladly point out and pass around. But yeah, we're just going to kick it off. Can you make some noise for Hi5Ghost, please? So, hey, how you doing?
Oh, sorry, I just need to get that out of the way.
That's what you love to hear.
I felt a little bit stiff. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Nah, good to hear. So, funny story about me and Hi5. Met back in maybe 2015-ish. And I think it was at Crofters. And then my guy here gave me my first vinyl, which is amazing. It was the Paper Cranes release with Teflon.
Yeah, it was my first vinyl release on my own imprint as well. Yeah,
banging. Let's go. So yeah, it's nice to flash forward now and get more insight into your own production as well, which is super sick. So could you tell us a bit about your history in making music? Because obviously, for those who don't know, Hi5 hasn't always been Hi5. So tell us a bit about your Sure Skank days and your MC alias.
Yeah, so when I first moved to Bristol, I was just strictly grime MC. That's all I wanted to be, and I managed to get into the hosting circuit, and I used to host various events, and I met Khan and Neek. They wasn't a duo at the time, on an event, and I hosted for both of their sets. And then Neek used to run an event called Sure Skank, and then they brought me into that. And then I used to host all the Sure Skanks since then. And that kind of just helped me just feel more confident being on stage, being in front of a crowd, and just MCing. And then through that, I used to travel around with Khan whenever he had gigs outside of Bristol. And then just used to host with him.
Sick. Would you say, obviously, being an MC, a grime MC, that's obviously influenced your production predominantly. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's your main influence? But what other influences do you have in your back catalogue? Like things you've been working on that you look back on that help your own production?
They're hands down grime, but just also darker garage. It's just when some of my earliest memories of being I want to be able to make that type of stuff was listening to early pirate radio and just hearing that kind of area when garage turned into grime, and it was a lot darker. And those are the kind of stuff which has definitely influenced the way I've been making music. And I mean, a lot of the early nights I used to go out to were drum and bass, a lot of jump up, and I think that's almost everyone's rite of passage kind of thing, innit? And I got put onto Dillinger at an early stage in, I guess, my going out and listening to sound system music, and hearing Dillinger and Lemon D on Valve sound system kind of changed my whole perspective on bass music. So
is there going to be any drum and bass bits from you from
back
in the day hiding about?
I know my role.
I wish. Let's go. So speaking about, obviously you've been transitioning as well into a new alias. What are you drawing inspirations from with that? Do you have a clear vision and direction that you want to take that?
That was more kind of just, I don't know if it's a level of, I think, maturity in myself, but going out and performing and DJing, I just felt that people will hear certain tunes and they'll be like, oh, and then once it drops, it's just kind of static again. And I just felt that everyone here who writes music, you all know how much time you put into your craft, and it's a shame that it kind of just gets received like that, rather than,
In like 1 second.
yeah, rather than the whole entirety of the song. And where I kind of noticed when I were playing like more dancehall kind of tunes, people ain't so much focusing, like looking over the deck, trying to clock what tunes being played or anything like that, or like over analyzing it. They're just having fun and they're just enjoying the moment. And that's kind of just really what I want. I just want to make music that people have fun and people enjoy. So it's kind of just more just like, I think that sometimes, with some underground music, you are kind of writing music for other producers in some sense.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
And with dancehall, I feel like I'm writing music just for people who just want to go out and just party a little bit. And yeah, that's kind of just what I want to get back to, just focusing on facilitating a good vibe.
Yeah, and like when we were speaking earlier, we were talking about how you want to like combine loads of different genres. Like you have like tracks with, if I can say, like Murky Ace coming out soon, which would be sick to hear him on one of your newer beats, because he's predominantly known for being a heavy grime MC. Do you have any other artists that you're aspiring to work with, or are you just trying to push the boundaries and see what your sound can take you?
I mean, I'm at this moment in time, I'm very open, and it's just anyone who's just keen to work. I've had a conversation with Sam Binga about it, and there could be artists who I prefer their style, or might have like more of a following or whatever, but if there's somebody else who I've set a tune to and they're less known but they're keen to work, I'm going to prioritize them, because I'm just at this moment, I just want to focus on people who actually want to get stuff out the door, who actually want to work, and not all of that kind of like just talking.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just like, I'm here to make a tune and that's it. And then you release it, and like we were saying earlier, you release it, it sees its limelight, and then just disappears once again.
Yeah, and that's the other kind of thing about it, is like, I think in the current climate, sometimes music can still feel a little bit disposable. But it's kind of just like, in some cases, you kind of got to do it for yourself. And it's that sense of like completing something, rather than like looking back and being like, oh, I need to mix this down, or I should finish this. Like trying to, like, once you get it over and done with, you can focus on to the next thing, and it's that sense of closure a little bit.
Do you feel like those tunes where like you've made them for yourself, which you haven't really had any thought of anyone else or DJs playing it, those are the tunes that felt like lasted longer than the ones you just made for the sake of like the club?
For me, it's been the other way around.
Really?
Like the tunes I've made for myself just did not hit. But I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Like, yeah, you
Sometimes
can't win
it
them
can
all.
be like that. It's a cold world, honestly.
Yeah.
But we're going to be talking about 3 tunes, we believe.
Yeah. So one of them is kind of like still from when I was making more like 140, and then we'll go over one of my newer stuff, like the more dancehall, and then another remix that I'm currently working on. So yeah.
Yeah, sick. Come on. Which is the first track you would like to devolve into?
So this one is, just make sure the audio is all set up properly. There we go. So this one's Long Way Home, and this came out on Sicaria's label Cutcross. And when I made this, they did kind of say, oh yeah, we want a tune to sound like your last single kind of thing. So a lot of the sounds I did kind of just pull the patches that I've already made. And then, so I kind of had a clear idea in what direction this tune was going to go into. But
also, touching on that, when we were speaking earlier, you were saying prior to more so recent times, you're using Logic. Do you feel like your production style has changed since moving from Logic to Ableton? Or do you still have that the same, like,
hands down. I mean, whatever software or hardware or whatever your kind of workflow or method is, as soon as you change it, your style is going to be affected by that. And, I felt that the way I was using Logic is totally different to the way I use Ableton. There are some crossovers. I still feel like I work very like linear. Like there's a lot of my friends who was using Ableton before me. They all use the session view, and that's something I've never done. But like most people who move from Logic, they will be like that. Whereas if you started on Ableton, you'll be more open to like the whole jamming and the session view.
Yeah.
And I can totally understand that workflow, but I'm just kind of stuck in my habits a little bit.
Yeah. Same. I was moved from Logic as well to Ableton. I feel like once you see this arrangement, it just feels natural to just continue going.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to delve deep into the beat and just give us a run through? If you haven't heard this one, this is your first time hearing it, you're going to be gladly enjoying it. I promise
Yeah,
you.
so I mean, like, full disclosure, like, I've moved. I used to write my music on a different machine, so there are some plugins which ain't available, which I don't have anymore, but it doesn't take away from how it sounds.
Yeah.
And I mix down on Logic, so this version won't sound like the final version because the mix would be. I just feel like that video. Yo, don't check the mix, innit?
Don't check this one still.
Yeah.
Also, saying on that, do you have any advice to the people using different like DAWs for different purposes?
Unless, I mean, I guess if you know why you're using it, yeah, because I use Ableton strictly to get the creative aspect done. I find it very easy to kind of like keep momentum when I'm writing a tune. So I don't worry too much about EQing and compression, only unless it serves a creative purpose.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, you might tame some frequencies and get away stuff which are clashing, but like the whole purpose during my Ableton project is just to get the vibe down, and then once I commit, then I can focus on making it sound as clean as possible. So yeah, but I'll run the tune.
Could you quickly hit like the H in the top right, I forgot what it says, so you can see more of the view of the whole project? Yeah, safe. Jesus. You were hiding the rest of the project. I was like, yo, he's crammed this all into like 5 different tracks. I was like, yo, that's it, come on. Let's go.
Where do you want to start?
Where, like, for you, where do you start when you make a tune? Because obviously some people make tunes like they start with the melody first. With this track, if you do remember how you started it, that'd be sick. Just to see how you flowed your ideas onto Ableton.
I think I definitely start with the drums with this one. Let's get that going. And yeah, with my drums, I mean, it's nothing special really. Let's see, bring up some of the processing. So kick. So I got told off about just constantly using audio samples from one of my friends, and I've been starting to use the sampler, which I guess everyone else has been doing. So I'm a bit late to the party on that one. And then yeah, everything else is just all audio. Again, like I kind of said at the beginning, I don't really do too much processing on each sound. It's one of those kind of other things as well, which I feel like it took me a long time to kind of just realize, where, you know, a lot of us electronic producers, we might be like sharing sample packs or whatever, or, you know, you might be using Splice or whatever, and like, you know, you're getting really high quality samples straight off the bat. So really and truly, you shouldn't need to like compress it, or unless it's for like a creative process while you're trying to reshape the sound, you shouldn't really need to touch it too much. So and this even kind of like goes over into my mixing stage, where all the individual elements of my drums outside. Maybe I should have showed like the Logic file outside of like just some EQing to stop it from clashing from other elements. Like most of my processing happens on the group. So yeah, and I think I got, you know, one of my favorite plugins.
You banged on Halftime.
I love Halftime. It's definitely, yeah, it's just changed my whole production style.
For those, can you explain what Halftime is for those who don't know?
So Halftime kind of just like adds another layer. I'll put it like a full wet on the drums. So yeah, you can kind of hear that, yeah, it's playing it at like half the tempo speed, and it's obviously like pitched it down a little bit. So I use it to kind of like fill in the gaps a little bit. So before, like if you thought those drums are pretty hectic before, I would actually just keep adding more and more to kind of just like
Keep
in
the
my
flow
head,
going.
in my head I'm thinking I'm adding groove, but really I'm just adding too much. But yeah, Halftime I use that to kind of fill in the gaps. I kind of bring it down to around like 30-20%.
And you went for sustain as well on the bottom left,
Yeah, just to, again to kind of just like mask it. Or usually I kind of go for like more like perk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think.
Could you quickly demonstrate the difference between sustain and perk? Because I think perk is like it with sustain the halftime continues for a long bit.
Yeah, so the
Perk
perk
is
will
like-
be it's better for more like transient bass sounds. And then you'll just have it. Again. So it would be, I mean, it would be a little bit more like another drum element. But at the time, I mean, to be fair, if we're being 100% honest, because it starts off on sustain, and I think I just threw it on. I was like, yeah, that sounds
Yeah, let's
good.
go.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't need to do
and
too much.
And it is one of those kind of plugins where you can just throw it on, and on most stuff, it kind of just does what it says on the tin, and you know, I'm happy days kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's like originally like the idea is off that Gross Beat plug, like that one which is on Fruity Loops. No, it's called Gross Beat, which is on Fruity Loops. Yeah, which you can't get on.
So I think what happened in my scenario was like, you know, when you're just like you're at home and you might be thinking something out loud or whatever, and I think the algorithm just heard me chatting to myself. Like I was trying to find Gross Beat and I couldn't find it for Ableton, and then I saw an advert for Halftime and I was like, what?
Yeah, what is this?
So and then since then, so shout out the algorithm.
Halftime plug.
Yeah. And then another thing I've kind of been doing more recently is just again like kind of like going over with like using these sample packs. I've been using loops from other sample packs a lot in my drums as well. Just again, just as like another little like just little layer. So I think that's actually, what does that say, keys loop? So that's something I recorded ages ago in one of my last studios, and it's just a loop of just playing around with some keys and cups which got left around from like after
sick.
party.
Yeah.
And then it would be pumping like a little sidechain effect, but I don't have that plugin anymore on there. And then just adding different little layers like this. But I do, on another tune you hear, I do use like loops from other sample packs.
So you're using like loads of different layers, which are they all hitting at the same time or just filling in the gaps?
No, just filling in gaps, just adding more groove. And again, you know, they kind of have their moment to kind of like be center stage kind of thing to come forward. I'm trying to think what else is going on in this tune.
What's the one, the green one below that one there? This one here?
This green one. Let's see.
Because your beats are always, there's so much going on, but it all has its place. And
I mean,
sits
honestly,
well.
when you see the more recent stuff, it will look a lot slimmer. I'm just trying to just be more proactive, because you can overcook it sometimes. And I think that's what I do in some cases. So that's just a freeze of Halftime So I think I did another little loop, freezed it, and then just put it down here as another little layer.
So you're the biggest benefit. Would you say with working with audio, you can just consistently like move it around and change it?
Yeah, and sometimes I've been, especially since using my laptop just to save CPU, I do a lot of like bouncing in place, a lot of like freezing and then copying it down, and it's just good just to kind of just like visually see in some cases what's actually going on. And yeah, I mean, I like to resample myself or resample what's going on in the track so that, you know, I can stretch it and see how far it goes. But it's been a force of habit, just trying to like save your computer from flying off. It's just like a lot of bouncing in place, seeing how that sounds, or like just taking elements from it and then taking it from there.
Would you say it forces you to kind of stick with an idea when you bounce it?
If anything, it kind of opens up more ideas because, you know, you throw it into a sampler and, you know, you might play it at a higher pitch or a lower pitch and you're like, actually, that sounds pretty cool. Or you might play a new melody out of it and then, you know, you had what was a stretched out kick or tom or like a weird percussion, and you've made like this new kind of like melody out of it, which just sounds different. I mean, you're like, actually, you know what? I'm going to get rid of the melody I first had and I'm going to use this to kind of like control the groove kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely kind of say, you know, if you are like hitting a wall, you know, bounce in place, throw it in a sampler and see what you can get out of it. It's definitely got me out of a corner plenty of times.
But you said you still keep it on the kick, use MIDI. Is there a reason to that? Why you've only used it on some rather than like everything?
So the only real reason I did it on a kick, I think this kick wasn't the best of kicks, and I still continue to use it in every tune. But just because of the pitch oscillator.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt, I mean, it felt like a solid kick at the time, but I just used the pitch oscillator just to add a bit more bite into the transient. And then, it just kind of helps it kind of just cut through a little bit more. So that's, and then obviously like with hi-hats, it's just a bit easier just to kind of like, throw in, loads of patterns. And I like to kind of just, switch up the pitch of my hi-hats as well.
Speaking of pitch, do you pitch your samples, or do you just see what just sounds right when you're picking your samples?
What do you mean? What in key to?
Yeah, key to the track.
It depends. Not like my drum sounds. I kind of, if it works, it works, kind of thing. To be honest, I'm not that techie, if I be honest. But more for like melodic stuff. Then I make sure that it's all in key, unless it's the core sounds, and then I'm working around. Around that. And you know, it's not something which I do much anymore. But like on the right hand side, I use like the track delay just to add a little swing to it. I guess a little bit. It just makes it a little bit more wonky.
Can you kind of does everyone here use Ableton? Like, how many people use Ableton? Put your hand up. And how many people don't use Ableton? Okay, so you might need to explain what track delay is. Oh, you know it is. Oh, wait. Sepia. I couldn't see your face, brother. Mate, it's so bright. I'm so sorry, my dude. Sick.
But and then the rest is just massive. Again, I kind of just freezed. So like the up is like a massive patch, but that's just a freeze of it. And then if we go to this one, we can.
Did I see you put halftime on the massive patch as well?
It was on there and it was automating at the time, but I think defiant, it just didn't make the cut in the end. It just bypassed. So then I just used massive just to make it up just with the step sequencer. Make sure it's solid. So it still has massive going on. Not massive, halftime. Sorry. There we go. And then yeah, you can kind of set it so that each step matches. Where is it? So you can have it snap to grids, I think it was. And then yeah, when you route it to your pitch, you can have it so that yeah, each step matches a semitone.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I noticed with this track when I was listening to it, you use a delay a lot in this track to kind of like give a counter melody in a sense.
That's probably halftime.
I see.
Because yeah, so I think there's a bit where in the other melody up here. Because I had to be honest, I had to have a look yesterday just to remind myself. But there was a bit halftime mix. So yeah, on this row, that's being automated for the melody. But I think just because of this was made on an older version of Ableton, so it didn't kind of like cross over as well. But yeah, you would hear the halftime coming. So
in.
When you think the bits like the delay, it's just like the lower layer.
So using like using halftime to give, even though some would say like a simple synth that keeps the bounce going and keeps the groove going as well.
Yeah, it's just kind of stretching the sounds. Like you've already kind of done the hard work, like making the melody and finding the right patch or making it from scratch. And if you're not as musical, like I don't play any instruments, then something like that can kind of just like you said, help like build like a counter melody or something like that.
Sick.
And then the bass, I think it's this one. And then the bass is just a patch I made on Wavetable. It's like two different instances of it. So one's more like the top end, and one's more like the low end. And then
you group those together. Did you process them together as well?
So yeah, they both got they're both being processed by the saturator. Make sure that's right.
Yes.
And then it's just kind of just like almost, I say like a generic 808 type setup, but just using like the saw wave just to kind of give it some extra harmonics up top. And then just push it with a saturator just to get that extra kind of meat out of it. And one of my kind of like go-tos in some cases, and then I just kind of tweak it to taste depending on the tune I'm working on. With
your tunes, do you feel like there's certain go-to tricks that you do every single time without fail?
Definitely halftime. I just lean so heavily into halftime with my drums. And I used to make. So the thing is like, I think I'm trying to find a polite way of saying it. I used to be up my own arse a little bit about sound design, and I used to make everything from scratch, and I just felt that like it just wasted so much of like time having fun making music. And every time I'd be like, oh yeah, I have to make an 808 from scratch. And really and truly, like I've made already good ones which work, so it's just more of a case of just trying to like go back using like previous patches, because I wasn't saving enough patches from previous tunes as well.
Would you advise everyone to save their patches?
If you make it, save it, hands down. And again, even that whole kind of just like bouncing in place, bouncing out stems. So one good idea a friend put me on with, if you're having like a creative block, was that no doubt that everyone has like a folder of unfinished tunes, and he was just like, end of the month or after a couple months, go through those tunes you didn't finish, bounce out them stems, put all them stems into a folder, and then just treat those stems like new samples. And then you might be working on something, you'd be like, actually that drum loop I made on that other tune, that will fit in this. And at the time I didn't trust it, but there was a couple tunes that kind of like was able to be made out of those samples that I bounced down. And you know, you put the time in, you put the effort in.
Yeah.
Don't let it go to waste. Don't let it just be another file just sitting on your computer.
Yeah.
Just bounce it out and see it might fit in something else. So yeah.
Right, sick. By the way, did anyone have any questions at this moment in time at all? Please don't be shy at all. No question is a bad question. Nope. Cool. So let's keep it rolling.
Cool. Do you want to go to the next one, maybe, or something?
Done. Which next one are we going to go to?
So this one is this is Big Bag, which I did with XL Mads.
Can you tell us a bit about how that came about?
So I made the beat around just a random acapella, and yeah, I sent it to some friends in one of our group chats. So I have one group chat which is like dedicated to music, and there's a few of us in there, and we all, you know, make music in different genres. And yeah, Booth kind of got onto me about reach out to XL Mad. He's a part of Numa Crew. If you haven't heard of them, like Italy-based, like dancehall and reggae crew, but they also do like dubstep as well. And I've never heard of him before. Sent him a message straight away. He got back to me. I then got his number on WhatsApp, sent him the beat, sent him a handful of beats, and within the week he sent me back a reference, and then I used that reference to tailor the beat around it, and then yeah, we had the tune knocked out within like 2-3 weeks. Yeah, he was just like so easy to work with, amazing artist, and yeah, we've got a couple tunes which we kind of finished, but we're just gonna drip feed it out.
Saying that, you said that you used like a different acapella. Do you do that often, where you like use an acapella to like get a basis of an idea?
Sometimes, depending on the kind of tune, sometimes I do have like a handful of acapellas I write the beat around.
Yeah.
But because I'm so focused now on working with artists, I kind of use the acapellas just to stop myself from filling up those frequencies. And like, yeah, like as you saw with the other tune, there's quite a lot going on, because in my head I'm like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. Where all of those spaces, you know, you will give room for the artist to be creative vocally. And yeah, it's kind of hard if you're not already in the studio with somebody making a tune together.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of just like, yeah, fill in those spaces, which is it's natural.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So yeah. Yeah, should I run this?
Yeah, go for it.
You're
gonna hit the H and it's gonna be like bare files.
No, it's not that bad. Yeah,
Chilling.
see, yeah, it's pretty light. Turn that down a bit.
By the way, I rate the name of the file. Let's go.
I get that vocal going.
Fresh, yeah, deeper. Asserting, yeah, supper. Fool up, yeah, younger. Make sure we don't ever back under. Mountains, sweet like Hitler. Volleyball, 6 feet deeper. Top shot, pussy we not like that. Boss we go funeral, you don't need that. Big chick, pull us side. Backyard, wind up, baby, this is what I do. That's what we do, that's what we do. Nigga, you don't cheers, you know, holla. Dico per il top, se mi va. Ma, si dichiara l'Italia. Worldwide, international sola. Però voglio dire, quindi natural, non va carica, la solita di America. Con la vedi, critica, mai qui, we are small, però spiriti di mana. Marijuana, we are selling money, satellite flight, di chianga, la vita, cucina, we are di capi, di la cazzua. Everybody up, when they man, play, yeah, fresh, deeper.
Cool.
Yo, that was Can you make some noise for Hi5Ghost?
Thank you.
Honestly, so run us through this beat.
So this one I worked around the melody, and the melody is from. It's like a little loop I cut out of. I can't remember the artist's name. I saw Drake bigging up this artist, and then I listened to his album, and I cut a couple bits out of it, and there was another tune from his album which I used to make the tune we used chatting about I've Seen, which came out on 2020. And then there was a loop. I've been trying to use it a few times and it just never worked. And then I just resampled it and managed to kind of get this little loop out of it.
So never give up on those loops. Keep going back to them.
So I used Serato.
Did not know that was a thing. That's it.
This sampler is amazing. The way it processes audio is crazy, and it's an amazing sampler. If you can get your hands on it, it's definitely worth it.
Can you tell us a bit about what's going on here for people who've never seen this?
So for those, it's just, let me play the little loop first. So in fact, I think it got pitched down. Double speed. Where is it? Because it's a lot. It's definitely playing a lot. So yeah, Serato sampler. Obviously, Serato, they do the DJing software, and then what you can do when you load a sample in, it will analyze it and it will bring up the key of the sample, and all of these different lines are like different markers, and you can get it to automatically find it. So it has this little like find samples here, and then it will just kind of work off of the transients. But you can manually put it in yourself. And then what you can do, if slow. So then what you could do if you're like, I just kind of like that, then you can hit this little keyboard one. If I bring up the key here, and then you can just, that automatically just maps it
to the whole keyboard.
To your whole keyboard.
Oh man, that is so much faster than the way I've been doing it.
So because I used to be like on Logic, I had to do it manually. On the EX24, and that was just a whole process in itself. And then Ableton, simpler. You can do it, and it gets pretty close. But the Serato sample is...
You can just do that with each, and once you can try out loads of different ideas.
Yeah. So then if I want to do it with that one, then honestly, it's one of the best samplers available at the moment. So yeah, I used that, and I was just playing around, managed to get like this little loop going. Auto filter just to kind of just get rid of the frequencies I don't need, and good old sausage fattener just to kind of
let's go.
And then I think I got underneath it. So it's basically the same thing underneath, but I just used Portal.
Portal is the one.
And then just found a preset which kind of sounded pretty cool. And then that's creating all of that whirling noise in the background. And then again, that kind of just helped fill some spaces.
Just curious what that plugin there is. Kickstart 2, is that one of the plugins that then...
So Kickstart 2, this is like a collaboration with Nicky Romero and Cable Guys, and it's just meant to be another like ducking plugin. So I had it on there first because I wanted to add more movement and just have it kind of like pulsing, but it was just a bit too much. It was just easier just to kind of have it doing its thing, but just bring it down a little bit. So it didn't make the cut. But I've got shaper box going on.
You love a shaper box.
I do. I mean, even to be honest, even this, I don't actually know what the fuck is meant to be doing here. It's just like, I think I just slapped it on. It's just it's just adding a little filter.
It's got to be in there.
It's a glorified filter. It doesn't need to be doing what it's doing. I think I might have been playing around, and then I just got rid of all the other stuff and just left it how it is. And then my drums. So yeah, again, simple drums, using MIDI, snare sample. I think that's just from Splice. Other samples which I just grabbed from Splice. Electronic perks. So there's this one plugin in Native Instruments. I can't remember exactly what it's called. That's it.
Yo,
Straight away.
How did you know that?
So yeah, when I
just say the plugin name, just so everyone, just in case they didn't hear it.
So I used Polyplex. I love that. And you know, sometimes there are some plugins like Polyplex where you can get like some nice, like weird kind of just like abstract kind of sounds.
Yeah.
And I'll just sit there, hit record, just keep hitting different drum samples, hitting random, keep hitting it, and then I just cut out the ones which sound pretty cool, put it into a drum sampler, and then just make a new little kind of like percussion
out of
loop.
that.
Yeah, sick, smash that.
Honestly,
love that. So yeah, that's kind of just adding the extra little like percussion kind of loop with those drums. And then my bass.
So bass, same again. We have like two different layers.
Nah, it's again. Do you know what? This is just a sample. This is just a sample from a Wonder Girl pack, and yeah, the whole again like, cause my whole perspective towards approaching a tune has changed by this point.
Yeah. Like
I kind of said before, I used to kind of just like really be very precious about making everything from scratch, and only until chatting to like Notion, and he was like, like I use Splice, and everyone else being like, I use Splice, and like Khan was like, I was using Splice, and I was just like, you know what, let me just jump on it, and it just kind of helped just getting some sounds which help like kickstart the idea kind of thing, and I just kind of just wanted just to make a vibe, and a lot of these sounds were kind of pulled from Splice, and then obviously some of it's just the samples I found in in other tunes.
And once they're all together, they sound sick anyway, so it doesn't really matter where they're from.
That whole kind of it's that whole kind of thing where like you're making a tune and you're like, I don't want them to know where that sample's from, kind of thing. But then again, it's just like I'm not making the tune just for like other producers kind of thing. I'm making it for somebody to, listen to it and enjoy it. I want somebody to play it in their car. I want somebody to play it in the kitchen. I want somebody to listen to it in the club and still dance. And all of those people, they don't even know what Splice is.
Literally,
they're not going to be worried about like the samples. And it's just like, it took me a while to kind of just like, just get over that and just be like, get back to the foundations and just make something that feels good.
And you enjoy.
Something you enjoy, and just having fun, and I think, I mean, like, it's a pretty simple tune in comparison to like the last one, and then there's just a few little like laser sounds.
Did you do any like processing on the vocal, or was that all done?
So XL, he recorded the vocal himself, so I didn't touch it. There is like, you can hear there's quite a bit going on.
Coulda kuch, coulda be critical. I create, we are small, then split minimal. Marijuana, we are semi-panny road. Satellite fly, we the gang, gala road. Kushina, we are the Duppy with the like a sword. Everybody happy when the man flying down a road, fresh life.
And I did notice at the time when I was mixing it, there was a bit of like digital distortion. A little bit. I think he like just cooked it a little bit, going into the reds.
What did you do to combat that?
Isotopes.
Yeah.
I was able to kind of like tame it a little bit, and then the rest was just audio masking, just kind of having it in the mix so that the other elements kind of just like brushed in that same frequency range, and just kind of just like disguised it a little bit. But managed to kind of just make it work in the end.
Sick. Is there any, like with this tune, like I said before, is there anything that you just reached for straight away when you were like, once you got the vocal back, you're like, I need to do this with this track?
Just more about arrangement. just trying to make it so that it didn't clash too much with the vocal, and trying to just create interest, because the loop I sent him was pretty simple, and you know, I was kind of just like adding and taking away bits, just so that like it just didn't feel that like I'm just copying
and pasting.
Saying
that, when I listen to your tracks, your arrangement is like on point. You can listen like all the way through. It's always like interesting. Whereas I feel certain, not like some of my own productions feel stifled. Do you have any like tips and tricks to counteract like the arrangement block that sometimes people get?
Yeah, the whole kind of just adding and removing. There was like a term like the whole like adding like ear candy, and just adding like little. I mean, my go-to is just using weird sound effects to kind of just like let the listener know that something's about to happen.
Yeah.
And especially with like the 140 type music, I'm kind of like making it in the perspective of a DJ.
Yeah.
So like, I kind of want you to know that like, cool, this is 16 bars, this is 8 bars.
So
that like when you're mixing, you know how to kind of mix it with other stuff you're mixing it with. So yeah, just kind of just using, I say untraditional, but electronic music ain't traditional.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just like just using kind of sounds which kind of just feels a little bit different from your typical palette, to kind of just like,
to add sparkle and like
just to kind of
transition
just
to
make
it.
you be like, oh, that's different. Okay, something else is about to happen.
Yeah, I think people sometimes get too caught on like, this is this genre, you can't use any other sounds. Just try and mix up a bit more.
Yeah, and kind of get like stuck in a box that way, and like everyone wants to kind of like, you know, be distinctive and have their own sound. And I think again, even with that whole kind of like resampling yourself and bouncing down, that kind of helps you not fall into those traps. I think personally.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What was you said you had a third tune as well.
So the next one, this is like a remix.
This one is not out yet, is it?
No, I have to play this version.
Exclusive for you guys as well.
The other one was kind of like freaking out. So my process, as I kind of mentioned, is that like get the vibe, bounce it, put it into Logic.
Yeah.
Whereas with this tune, I kind of thought, oh, let me just see how it will sound if I mix down an Ableton, and now it's just like proper like kicking off. Because I ain't got internet connection, one of my plugins might not be happy, but we'll see. The Oxford Inflator, that's a serious plugin as well.
What's that do?
I think I've got it in my master chain. I don't know how to explain it. It's like it makes the lows sound nice and warm, but it also adds air
The
to
harmonics
like, to the
to
top.
that sound.
But it's not a limiter, but it's not a limiter or a clipper, but it does add perceived loudness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so cool. Yeah, just go for it. Cool.
Come on. That's so cold. Can you make some noise? So let's start from the top as per. So we've got your drums. You've got your drums in MIDI.
Yeah, I'm kind of behaving myself at the moment.
Why?
Yeah, just to speed it up. Let's get a little loop going.
So you said you mixed this in Ableton. What was
So
like?
this ain't the mixed version.
Okay, seen.
Just because yeah, the CPU on the mixed version is not happy. So I'm just gonna go back to what I know works.
Yeah,
and just
of
bounce
course.
it out. But yeah, I wanted to get to a point where I was like, okay, cool, maybe I can play this out.
Yeah.
So yeah. The drums, yeah, kind of same as before.
Is that a layer with that laser, or was that just a sample or the drum you made?
That is a layer with the laser. So like as I kind of said, I've been using more like loops from like other little sample packs just to kind of just like
Get the vibe.
Yeah, add a bit more groove. So if I bypass that. So my drums by itself is, pretty basic. But
Is there anything hitting at the same time that you do to like
there are
counteract
some
that,
layers,
or do you do like dip stuff down?
Nah, I just rags with it. Just rags. Yeah, so there's no secret there. It's just just layering it up. It's just but then that kind of gets tamed in the mix down stage.
Okay, I see.
So like when I'm processing my drum bus and I'm using what needs to be used, whether I'm EQing or compressing it, that kind of like deals with like the build up of like layering certain sounds, or within those stems I'll be like, okay, well, I want this snare, this clap to be a bit more predominant, so I'm just gonna bring the other one back. You're gonna be the body, you're gonna be the top, kind of thing.
Do you ever switch them at any points, or do you just maintain that as well, actually?
Not really. I think any kind of switching would just be happening to more sounds, because if I'm going to switch it, most likely it'll be on a whole nother sample. Rather than kind of just like going in between
the two different ones,
two sounds, which is just a layer, because really and truly, as the layer, it's like it's one sound now. It's like this is working in its dynamic around everything else. So sometimes it's like when I look at Ableton, like I said, it's just like I'm just thinking about the creative aspect of it. So and then, I know it doesn't really sound amazing, but like I promise the mix down will be better. I know it's just like it's been kind of like bass heavy, but obviously when I move it to Logic, everything's like zeroed, and then just work up.
Speaking of that, because we actually haven't seen Logic, obviously I've been asking you about, is there any like rule of thumbs with your like production when you're making the tracks? Is there a rule of thumbs when you're mixing it down?
So I kind of like work around which elements I think are the most important. So with the type of genres which like we're all involved in, I like to think that it's the drums and it's the bass. So as soon as I import all the sounds in, bring everything down to zero, and then I start with my kick. I bring that up to a certain point, which I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds nice and thumping. Then I bring up my bass and make sure that like those two ain't clashing too much. If they are, I kind of find out which frequencies are kind of like unhappy with each other, and then from there I start working with the rest of the drums, bring up my snare, bring up my hi-hats, then bring up any supporting drums. And then from that, everything else kind of comes up, and that's usually my method of mixing. And then once I get the levels all good, that's when I start adding plugins. That's when I start adding EQs. Unless I actually have to, like before them, I'm like, nah, this needs like cutting here. Usually I start with just getting the levels. And strangely enough, it's kind of like once I've been working that way, I realized that I was using a lot less plugins to fix a mix. I feel like before I kept being like, this needs resolving, this needs resolving. So I'm throwing in the next plugin.
Like 3 EQs for like one.
Yeah, whereas like honestly, just getting the levels right off the bat is so important, because that's when you can start gauging how you're gonna approach other elements within your track.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think fundamentally levels, and then you will know what plugins you need to use. And yeah, so now my mix downs look so simple. I'll say simple, a lot more stripped down compared to what they used to be like when I first started producing, when I was just like throwing everything on every channel. Like, you know, you watch a couple of YouTube channels, you're like, I need like 5 plugins. And it's just like, now.
Focus with like the foundation that you have.
Yeah, it's almost like the way it kind of got explained to me later on was just like making sure everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
If you don't know why you're using it, then you don't need it. Like, you're better off just like continuing without it. It might not be the best sounding mix today, but then you'll learn from that, and then the next mix you do will be better, kind of thing. So yeah, kind of just like learning your tools and just knowing that like everything you're putting on, whatever process it is, it has a purpose.
Yeah.
Even though I did show like the shape of box, but like it did have a job at one point.
That's sick. With this project, you've got obviously your drums. What's in the yellow as well?
So these are just like all the sound effects from the original tune.
Because I saw that you used like rises to introduce different sections of the track, especially.
Yeah. So my rise, which is just a simple white noise operator. I made like a little channel.
Would you advise everyone learns to use operator?
I don't use it enough, and when I do collaborate with some people and they use operator, I'm always impressed by like the sounds that you can get out of it. Is that something you use?
Nah, I wish I could. Like Namaste does, but he uses it differently, and to me it seems like out of this world. I'm a wavetable guy.
It is a powerful synthesizer, and I don't use it enough. I just use it for like my riser, so just have it set to like set to noise, and then I just kind of just add my filters, so which I can automate later on. So everything else after is just stuff which I can automate. So if I want my noise to kind of have more top end or more low end, I just control it with the filter. Or if I want it to start panning, or just add reverb. So that's the only reason why all of those bits in, just so that it's not something I have to add in later.
Yeah. Did you group it and do anything to it as well, or is it just as it is? With all
it's all into like an effects rack or instrument rack. And then like I said, the rest of these effects, I think Bingo kind of just like almost did like a little like modular kind of vibe.
Is this you recorded this, or is it sample as well?
Yeah, these are all stuff which like he kind of like handed over, and it's pretty similar to something which I like to use often is metaphysical. That's on Native Instruments, so it's a part of like the Reactor, I think, like legacy kind of stuff, and it's like just like a sound generator. As soon as you open up, it just starts spitting out noise straight away, and similar to like using like the Polyflex, Polymorph, similar to using that. I kind of just like set up a channel to record, keep hitting random, and you get some like if you're not into modular, or you are, but you don't know how to get your head around it, kind of thing, starting off with that can give you that kind of like modular type sound, or just like really like cinematic sound effects, and then record it, take out the best bits, resample it, kind of thing. And then what else is going on in this track? Complete. This is just like the little pluck sound.
Can you play that in the mix as well?
Let me get rid of.
So it's like working with, there's another sample I can hear, I think it's the Serato sample as well there.
Yeah.
They're like going back and forth with each other.
So this again, so this is another little like sample from Splice. That's doubled. That's the original sound. So yeah, I just kind of had it on the keyboard, sitting, and then yeah, I just played like a little melody with that.
I see you use the old scale trick here as well.
Yeah.
So useful, isn't it?
Yeah, it saves me a lot. And then yeah, that's just kind of like running the whole way through. Yeah, the original track, it didn't really have a melody. It's just like just drums. It's just
drums and
energy.
vocal.
Yeah, drums and vocals. And then again, same with the bass. I think it's just another sample.
And then the bass is riding with that Serato sample. It looks like for certain bits anyway.
Need an extra hand. Strings. Then yeah, because even with this little melody thing,
Or like the flute sound.
yeah, it's not so. This ain't something which I've used often, and yeah, just going through kind of presets, and again the same kind of thing is just like not trying to overthink it, just trying to find stuff that works.
Yeah.
And then if it needs tweaking, then I'll tweak it.
In post.
There's a little bit on it, not loads. Wider, which is a good free stereo imager. Just so that like, yeah, with the whole kind of placement kind of thing.
Yeah. Everything has its own placement spectrum. Stereo spectrum.
And then yeah, just simple EQ just to kind of just clean it up a little bit. But yeah, this is almost kind of feel like a little bit underwhelming.
Do you label your stuff as well?
Pardon?
Do you label your stuff?
Do I?
Label it on the side.
Only until I get to the end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You keep everything in groups so it's easier to
Try and keep
mix
it in
down
groups,
as well.
Try and color code it. I'm not the most organized person, if I be honest. And then, where is it? Just on the main chorusy bit. So got little lasers going on here, which is called a clap. Got like this like urban puncher. This kind of like.
What does this one do?
This is a.
It's fat.
Yeah, it's pretty aggy. Just like a saturation, but like for drums. It kind of adds a bit of transience as well to it, and yeah, just I think if I bypass it, you can hear the difference. Let's do it on these drums.
I see. Would you say it's really important to saturate your drums?
I mean, I love like saturation and distortion anyway, and yeah, I just love the fact that like you can be as gentle or aggressive. You know, there are even like sausage fattener. You know, some people do feel a little bit like they don't want to admit, but they still use it. They're like, but it's like, you know, if you use it,
if you use it, it works.
If you use it with purpose, kind of thing, it's just like, yeah, just putting it on gently. If you want to add that little bit of like energy to it, or and just like this, I think at the time I saw it on Plugin Boutique for free. I thought, I'll give it a go, and then it kind of I don't know if and then this is like, I just wanted to try it out. It was like a transient shaper. It helped. I mean, not my go-to transient shaper, but I just.
What is your go-to?
There's one. It's like a Native Instruments one. It is just Transient Master.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's kind of more my go-to one. But the other one done its job. And then Oxford Inflator was on there, and again this would have been on just a bit lightly, just to kind of just make the drums just sound a bit thicker, but all consistent as well.
And like grouped together.
Yeah.
Sick. Well, moving also away from just production, like obviously we spoke a bit about like writer's block, arrangement. Is there any words of wisdom you could give to these guys here for when they're like, one, making their tunes, two, as well, trying to get their tunes out there, passing on to like radio stations, as well as obviously you've worked with several different labels as well, so yeah.
I mean, there's no real kind of like clear. I guess it's all kind of like case by case a little bit. And considering, if I'm like kind of comparing to like when I first started making music, it felt that like, you know, having your name on a physical record was so important. It was all about trying to get like your tune onto a label, onto a record. And my first record, Kung Fu Kick, I sent it to a handful of different labels, and they're all like, oh yeah, I like the tune, but we're not sure about it. And you know, it got to the point where, and if it wasn't for Joe and Sam to kind of be like, actually, cool, we'll put some money behind it, it wouldn't have allowed me to kind of be able to use that momentum, and for people to kind of like trust the tunes I was making. And it's kind of hard. I think then I felt that people took you more seriously if you had a record release, whereas nowadays, I think that record releases don't really matter anymore. Whereas there's definitely more strength in being independent. And something which I wish I invested in ages ago was using Bandcamp. And if it wasn't until, you know, lockdown and when everyone's doing like Bandcamp Fridays, that's when I kind of like got back into it. And, you know, I think that people don't mind being like, oh yeah, I'm going to pay £1, pay £2 for a kind of tune. It's just like, you can easily spend that in the pub kind of thing. So it's hard because I feel like I'm re-navigating in the industry again now that I've kind of just like starting a new alias and writing new styles, and I'm trying to like see what works for some people and what potentially works for myself. But I think the main thing, which doesn't matter what type of genre you're doing or what type of style or whatever, it's just having like a legit community, whether it's close friends or whether there's other people out there who's doing a similar thing to you. Sharing ideas and sharing music definitely helps a lot. And
rather than gatekeeping,
and especially if you're not like, you know, if you're not type of person who is outgoing and you're not like a networky type person, because I know I'm rubbish with social media, and I think a lot of us may be a little bit like that in some cases. So having a group chat with friends who are like-minded, and you're all making tunes, you're all sharing tunes with each other, you're all sharing samples. So there's one group chat, which is like myself, Boofy, Hieroglyphics, Notion, Lems.
That's a stat group chat.
I'm trying to think, someone else in there.
Yourself.
Yeah, I said myself first. But there's a few, I think there's a couple other guys in there. Juk, Drone, But yeah, we made that group chat to kind of encourage each other to keep making tunes.
Yeah.
So every minute we'd be like, yo, here's another loop I'm working on. Get a little bit of feedback from each other. Change this. This is sick. That's cool. And we also share a Dropbox where we just like, if you're not making any tunes, we'll make little stems, make little loops. We'll put it into that Dropbox folder and we'll be like, if any of us use other samples from each other, then we just call it a collab straight away kind of thing.
Yeah.
So all of that kind of just helps us kind of just like, keep the juices going.
Yeah.
And if you have got a friend who's like knocking out tunes regular, and you're using their sample, they use your sample, straight away you got like a collab together.
Yeah.
So
That's a smart way of going about it.
So it doesn't feel like you have to constantly keep making tunes.
Yeah.
So that's one way we've been kind of like working to kind of, even though it gets flooded with memes in between, but like there's like it's a nice kind of just way of everyone kind of just like encouraging each other.
Also, by the way, did anyone have any questions? It's because you guys have been pretty quiet, but don't be afraid. The mics are just there. We can pass them out if you want to. Nope. Okay, all good. Chilling. So, going on for, also we talked about earlier, like developing your sound. Obviously, like resampling is a big part. You said like bouncing stuff out. Would you say there's any other things that people could do outside of music to develop their sound, or would you think it's all just like based in how you work?
It might be, I found that like uni definitely helped me, and I know it's definitely not the answer for everyone. And the first 2 years was just going through the motions. But like on my final year, where it's more about like experimentation and more just kind of just like making the most out of your environment, that really opened up the perspective for me. And stuff like that which ain't necessarily linked to making a dance floor banger, that kind of stuff I found inspiring, and kind of helped me look at production in a different perspective, and just kind of just finding other sounds to kind of stretch it or be creative in other manners. I just think that like, if it ain't necessarily just like being on your laptop or your computer making sounds, just kind of just like socializing and being around other people that are, I found that, the friends or peers which I thought, sick, you're smashing it, knocking it out, and seeing what they're doing, that kind of helped
get you feedback and
just you're just gonna get information without even having to like force it out. You're gonna hear, I just bought this new plugin, okay, cool, I want to try that out. Or I just checked out this new club, or have you heard of these people that are putting on things? And just being around people like that, you're gonna like kind of absorb some information which could help your journey.
Also, obviously I've asked you a lot of questions, so anything you want to say specifically
about in what sense?
In the sense of just any things that I haven't touched upon myself.
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I am kind of curious what other people in here are doing. Pretty quiet. Don't want to put anyone else on the spot.
Literally.
But like, I think I would like to hear from other people, because we're all here in this, and it's an opportunity for us to all share kind of thing. We all make music, or we all are music lovers kind of thing. And I found that when I used to teach at one point, and I learned just as much from the students as they were from myself, because they kept me in the loop. So anything anyone wants to share or say anything.
Hello.
Has been great, thank you. I just have a question, like, how many hours do you spend making music? Do you have like a routine, like every week? And how long did it take for you to get to a point where you felt like very confident on sharing music? Just because I'm starting, so I just want to know.
Hours wise, I don't know. There have been times where You know, I've sat down in front of the computer and yeah, it's like all of a sudden it's dark outside kind of thing.
Always the way.
But I think, you know, depending on your lifestyle, wherever you can get some time in, you know, automatically you're investing in yourself. You know, the more you sit in front of your computer, like whether you don't have to necessarily make a tune, if you're just learning your software, if you're just learning your hardware, when you do have the time to make something, or when you do have the energy, or you're in a right mind space to be like, cool, I'm gonna make a tune now, you feel more confident. And you know, now that you're starting off, you're in a good place where, you know, there's no rules. Like you're not trying to fit necessarily in certain boxes or whatever. So you can just be. I found that like when I listen back to tunes which I first made, I can hear the fun. I can hear like, oh, I'm experimenting, or I'm like playing around with this thing, and I don't know what I'm doing, but you can hear that sense of like, yeah, curiosity a little bit, and that is a really nice kind of like pocket to be in, because sometimes the more you know, the more you kind of just like overcomplicate things a little bit, and in a sense of like, you know, finding the time when you can start sharing music. I think just as creators, we all kind of feel precious about the stuff we make. Nobody wants to be told that something they created ain't good enough or is rubbish. And you kind of never really get over that. You kind of just got to reach the point where you're like, cool, this is done. And then, you know, you put it out in the world and you work on your next one. I think personally, like, and you're only going to know how you can improve based off of actually getting it out there. You see how it's received. You can listen to it from another perspective, and then you'll be like, okay, cool, the next one, I'm probably going to do this a bit better, or I'm going to focus on this. And then that's how you constantly grow.
That's it. Anybody else got any questions at all?
Hey, yeah, thanks for the chat and advice. It's been really interesting. Have you got any rituals or like anything from a day-to-day perspective that you would do to get you on the laptop, and like, or like an approach of how you would go to that, like working with your process and practice, I guess?
I think the closest thing to that would, I like to like, I wake up really early every day. Just like, I think it's just from like my first job I used to start was really early, and I like to try and just go to the gym and do a little hour workout, and that really sets the day on a high tone for me a little bit. It's just like, cool, I'm pumped up, got the blood pumping, I'm ready to kind of crack on with stuff. And sometimes I find that like when I feel like I've had a lazy day, I have a lazy approach. So like, even if you don't have to necessarily go to the gym and do a workout, but like, you know, like waking up at a good time, waking up a bit early, whether like, you know, quickly tidy up the gaff, or you might do some stretches or something, or like, yeah, like have your breakfast and shower straight away. You're like, cool, I'm ready for the rest of the day now. And, you know, I think that approach kind of like carries on throughout, and also in anything you kind of approach, I think.
Banging. Anybody else at all? Son, with that being said, thank you for coming to the CDR session. We're still going to be running some tunes as well. We've got an evaluation form which you can scan, which the guys will be able to point out, which we'd love your feedback from. Can you big up to Hi5Ghost for joining us as well?
Thank you.
Yeah, honestly.
Cheers, I appreciate it.
Mate, honestly, it's so sick.